Have you defined your personal brand? Or are you going to say to me, Gwyneth, I don't need a brand. I'm not a commodity. I'm not a product. Branding is not for me. Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you how wrong you are. So, first of all, I want to wish you a fabulous Feel Good Friday. Feel Good Fridays are all about helping you to feel really, really good about being you. And when it comes to your brand, more than ever, as we've seen over the past 14 to 15 months, it's really, really important, regardless of whether you're employee or entrepreneur, that if you want to be promoted, if you want to be growing your business, scaling your business, people have to understand who you are, how you contribute, which problems you solve for them, so that they can then make a choice whether to hire you or buy from you. Confused brains, confused minds do not buy, do not hire. They will go and look for somebody else who that they can then understand what that person is about. So you have a brand, whether you want to or not. It's as simple as that. We judge each other so very quickly. We judge each other within minutes. We judge each other actually within seconds of seeing each other. People frequently judge me on my love of the color pink on my website or my English accent. I judge people as well by their accent and whether they want to show up on video camera if I'm doing a workshop. I like to see people's faces, and if they don't want to switch their video on, it's like, what's wrong with them? This all has to do with the type of brand, with the type of person you are being judged as being. Now, what do I mean about the importance of your brand being consistent, being coherent, being absolutely clear to other people? Well, if you do a little bit of research, if you take a look at the businesses in particular that are still going strong despite the challenges of the past 14 to 15 months, you will see it is the businesses, it is the companies that have a very, very clear message about what they provide. Companies that have tried to diversify, companies that have tried to people please and do all sorts of different things just in case it works. Those are the businesses, those are the companies that are going to suffer. Now, of course, you may argue that the huge corporates, they weren't going to go under in the past 14 to 15 months. But there still have been a couple of tragedies, particularly on the high street. And I want to give you one example of how this works. I want to talk about Debenhams. I worked with Debenhams. I was the personal assistant to the chairman of Debenhams at the end of the 1990s. And part of my job was also to manage the corporate community involvement program, which is a posh way of saying I manage the charity program of Debenhams to encourage employees to do fundraising locally instead of the business just giving a slap bang donation just to one charity once a year. We really wanted to build the connection, the emotional connection between the retailer and the communities where Debenhams had its stores. I was very proud to work at Debenhams. I loved working at Debenhams. There was a new management team, a fabulous CEO by the name of Terry Green, not to be confused with Philip Green. Terry Green was an absolute visionary, dynamic, energetic, knew exactly where he wanted to go, understood branding inside and out, to the extent that he was the person who introduced, and I'm sure you've heard of this, designers at Debenhams. He brought new upcoming designers and well-known designers into the stores, Jasper Conran and John Rocha, just to mention a couple. And instead of being a kind of jumble saley place where you could get everything that Debenhams had become, regrettably, over the years, all of a sudden it was this beautiful, immaculate, very, very clear place that you knew exactly which brands you could get at Debenhams. Just the entire concept was very, very different, and business was good. Of course, there were still challenges, but business was good. It was a thriving company, definitely going in the right direction. Well, I left, and then the management team over time changed as well. And unfortunately, Debenhams was sold. It was taken off the stock exchange. It was taken into private ownership. Of course, up to them what they do with the business. But that's when Debenhams, in my opinion, began to lose its way. And the designers at Debenhams, because you didn't have this strong vision coming from the top, people started to drop off, all sorts of business stuff going on. Then it went public again, back into private hands, and it lost its way. The customers no longer understood what Debenhams was. You could go in there for a cup of coffee and a donut, but again, stuff all over the place. The brands weren't really very strong anymore. The promotion, the windows were lovely, but again, it was nothing that differentiated Debenhams from other retailers. And just in the past couple of years, unfortunately, very, very sad, Debenhams has gone into administration. Now the buildings are potentially going to be sold. The name has been bought up by another company, but around 20,000 employees up and down the United Kingdom will no longer be working for Debenhams as we knew it. Now, some might say competition and all the rest of it on the high street, and I totally get that, but that for me is a perfect example of when a brand becomes diluted, of when people no longer understand what a retailer is selling. Is it discounted? Is it for, I'm going to say, the middle classes? Is it designer labels? If you don't know what a shop sells, then you're probably not going to go in there if you know that there's somewhere else down the street where you know exactly what you're going to get. And this is why branding is so important, regardless of whether you are a solopreneur, an employee somewhere, or if you're a big corporate. If your message is not consistent and clear and coherent, it will be very, very difficult for people to take the decision to buy from you or potentially to hire you. So how can you work out what your brand actually is? Well, a great way to do this is to use the old-fashioned pen and paper. I'm a huge fan of pen and paper because it allows the creative process of what's going on in here, instead of the mechanical intelligence when you start typing stuff on a tablet or a laptop. But if you can write down your values, what is important to you, which type of people do you enjoy working with? Give yourself a kind of big description of your life in general. I guess in some way you are describing your identity, or at least how you would like people to see you. Now, when you read that back to yourself, you will know if there are gaps between, oh, I wrote down that actually I'm an expert in nuclear science, or I'm an expert in branding and sales. And then you look, but you're reading this and you're thinking, but nobody actually knows this because I'm not telling anybody, because this is not a part of the image, because I'm the type of person who thinks that I should get ahead purely based on qualifications and work experience. But even if you're not telling people about your work experience and qualifications, how are they ever going to know what you can do for them? When you've done that, then think about which problems you actually solve. And again, it doesn't matter if you're an employee or an entrepreneur. Specifically in business, the best types of business are always going to be those that solve a problem for somebody. People pay other people to have their problems solved for them. So how do you help people? What is the outcome of what it is that you do? And this is something somebody asked me on a workshop I did a few days ago on branding. What do if I meet somebody for the first time, elevator pitch, those dreaded words, elevator pitch, what do I tell them? Well, you definitely don't start off by saying, my name is, I was born in, and I've been working here for blah, blah, blah. You can introduce yourself by your name, of course, but your brand, how you want to be perceived or judged by them, the best way to give them a good impression about you is to tell them, I help people solve XYZ. If you're an accountant, there are thousands of accountants all over the world. How do you differentiate yourself? You might be an Excel whiz. I help small business owners take the overwhelm out of working in Excel. Oof, crikey, I need somebody like that. Excel still brings me out in a cold sweat now and again. So what is the result? What is the problem that you actually solve for people? Now, when it comes to talking about branding, if you say I'm not a commodity, I'm not a product, People will see you as a generalist, as a commodity, if you like, just one amongst thousands, when there is no differentiation. If you're not prepared to look at yourself and ask yourself, how am I different? What is my approach? What are the specific outcomes that I do, that I help other people with? That's your differentiation. If you don't have that, then you become one of thousands. And employer, entrepreneur, you are going to have a really, really hard time getting ahead, because people will not be able to mind read what's going on, what you want to do, what your vision is, what you're brilliant at, if you haven't told them, if your brand isn't clear, if you are not clear and confident and comfortable about you telling other people, this is what I do, this is how I can help you. The branding, your brand begins to develop when you are able to differentiate, when you are able to potentially compete on quality and price in a business. Price is a little bit difficult, but if you can help people to understand how it is going to feel when they work with you, what is the experience going to be when they work with you? Because a memorable experience, and there's somebody who said something famous, and I can't, was it Maya Angelou saying something, you know, people will forget what you've said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. That is so true when it comes to you branding yourself, giving yourself a brand, strengthening your brand, building your image, so that other people are absolutely clear on what it is you have to offer. When you are clear on your niche, your area of expertise, who you want to work with, what the experience is that you are actually offering other people, that is what your brand is. You are your brand, and it's up to you to ensure that you are working on, like I said, strengthening, building that brand, so that you achieve the things that you want to achieve, that huge promotion or that big business contract. Remember, clarity, coherence, consistency. Those three things are absolutely crucial. If there is confusion, people will not hire you and people will not buy from you. So it's up to you to have a brand that is clear, coherent, consistent. And on that note, I wish you a fabulous Feel Good Friday. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to like, share and or comment. In between times, stay safe, stay healthy, stay fabulous. Loads of love and bye for now.